What's up, everybody? Welcome to Week in Review, episode number 62. My name is Sean. On this week's show, we're going to talk about Us, Shazam, and we're going to unbox an Ultimate Unboxing box by Funko. That's a lot of words, but it's there. We'll also look forward to this week's new releases. First up on this week's show is the movie Shazam, which I was able to catch an early screening of, actually like 2 weeks ahead of time. Fandango did a weird thing where they were showing a bunch of screenings, and it was originally, I think, only 2 screenings, and one of them was at 3 p.m., and that's what I bought tickets for, but then it moved all of a sudden to 4 p.m. mysteriously, and then I had a really hard time figuring out if it was actually supposed to start at 3 or if I was crazy and read the wrong time, and all of a sudden all my entire schedule was thrown off. Then I got to the movie, and I don't know what it is, but all these preview events have people in the wrong seats. And this one wasn't quite the debacle that the Lego Movie 2 was, but at the same time, it was still like a weird thing of like, early access people like don't understand assigned seating. I don't get it. But this one was like more of, he was just in the wrong line. He was in C, and so when the person like read it and was like, "Oh, you're in C5," he's like, "Okay, E5, got it," and then went up. He was also very enthusiastic about the movie, and I hope he enjoyed it because he tried to talk to me, and I felt really bad because I like didn't hear him correctly because he's like, "Do you like Shazam?" And I'm sitting there looking at my phone, trying to dig a Mountain Dew out of my bag, and I'm like, "What? What's happening?" And I felt kind of bad that I didn't respond, but hey, that's neither here nor there. The whole seating situation got figured out before the movie started, which was great, so I didn't miss the first 5 minutes. They also played more trailers this time around, which was a benefit to all of us, because then the seating situation could have gotten figured out. Otherwise, I'd have another horror story, just like the Lego Movie 2. Please understand assigned seating. As for the actual movie itself, it's actually really good. It's a big, fun, silly, funny, heartfelt superhero movie that I am pleasantly surprised with. I don't know anything about Shazam. I don't really care about this character in any capacity, but I sure do after the movie was done. Because this is a preview screening event sort of thing, I'm going to avoid major spoilers, and I'm going to try and leave you as spoiler-free going into the movie when it releases on April 5th. That sounds like a little bit of an ad. It's not, don't worry. I thought this was a great origin story. Like I said, I don't know anything about Shazam, and I think that's a great place to start. And I think that's kind of what DC is banking on, is that most people aren't going to know anything about it. They're going to trust that the trailers have done a good enough job of showing the tone and that it's a little bit brighter and lighter than some of the other DC fare. This is an origin movie. There is a lot that needs to be set up. We need to set up Billy. We need to set up the villain. We need to set up the world. We need to set up how he gets his powers. We need to give Billy and the villain enough of a backstory to care about them for the duration of the movie. And for the most part, it succeeds. The villain is a little bit one note, but I think it is bolstered a little bit by Mark Strong, who at this point basically just plays a professional bad guy in pretty much everything that's not named Kingsman. He helps a one-note character be a little bit more, but not much more than, like I said, a one-note character. That's fine. He doesn't need to be the most complex villain in the world, and that it kind of folds back into they have a lot to set up, and the easiest place to kind of cut corners is with kind of having a two-dimensional villain. We understand why he's frustrated. We understand his goals. That's about all you really need. Opposite of Mark Strong, we have Shazam himself, who is played adult versionly, or as Shazam. That makes sense. As Shazam, he's played by Zachary Levi, and he does a great job in this role. One of the cool things about this is the way that Shazam is written. Because he's a 14-year-old kid, the transition from like Billy as a young kid to Shazam can be like kind of weird, or probably could be pretty jarring. But the writers were smart enough to pay attention to the fact that he needs to sound the same regardless of who he is. And that's one of the better parts of the movie, is that like even when he's Shazam, which I have not said enough, I keep waiting for lightning to strike me. After we get some world building stuff, Billy is put into a foster home with a really great set of parents. I liked the parents because they were understanding on like a personal level, like they got what he was going through, but it also allows them to set up Billy, and by them I mean the filmmakers, it allows them to set up Billy as kind of a distant and somewhat selfish character. And while the parents get frustrated with him, they do tend to fall back on that, like, hey, we've been through this before, like, we understand this is a big change for him. And I thought that helped, because like that so easily could have been that terrible parenting sort of dynamic against a kid who's like has a little bit of trouble in his past, but because they were forgiving and understanding, it made for a better relationship dynamic, and it made you more frustrated at Billy when it's like they're trying to help you. they're like, they really want to give you a chance and you're blowing it. What are you doing? We're also introduced to the most important character, who is Freddy, who is obsessed with comic books. And this is where and this might be a mild spoiler, but this is where the DC universe sort of building comes into play. Batman and Superman and all those characters exist in this world, but they are nowhere to be found in this movie. And it's one of those things of like, hey, we're in the universe, but we're not really worried about it because it doesn't seem like, and this is completely separate from Shazam, it doesn't seem like DC has a super great plan for what they want to do next. Anyway, so the most important character is Freddy. The best character is Darla, and we're introduced to him, and Freddy's actually kind of frustrating at first. He's like a little overbearing and kind of annoying, but they do bond after Billy gets his powers and realizes that Freddy's the one who knows all about the superhero stuff. Where the movie gets kind of cool is how the powers are actually shown, like how Billy discovers that he has all these abilities. And some of them are figured out naturally, like he figures out naturally that he can punch really hard or he can run really fast. But some of them are figured out just by using Freddy's knowledge of the DC characters and going like, okay, other superheroes can fly, or other superheroes are maybe bulletproof, or like what kind of powers do you have are ideas that are kind of shared between the two of them. And that natural discovery and like almost like Mythbusterian sort of, all right, let's try it. Like you have, and this is in the trailer, you have bullet immunity. How far does that go? Like that sort of natural occurrence to them is a lot of fun to watch. This movie does a lot from the tonal perspective. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but like even the big CGI fight scene that I was kind of frankly dreading towards the end of this movie has enough character moments in it to be like, oh, okay, like they're doing it differently just enough. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but there are one-liners and quips, and there is a sense of difference to it that makes it more entertaining. And there is one like where I audibly said, oh fuck yes moment during the last quarter of the movie that I totally loved. So I don't know, I was pleasantly surprised with it. I was hoping I would like it. I felt like I was going to like it. I enjoyed all the trailers, and I'm super happy to report that the movie's great. Please give us a Darla solo movie because she's fantastic. And I think you should absolutely go see this movie when it releases on April 5th. Again, that sounds like an advertisement, but it's not. But you can sign me up for a Shazam sequel. On the other end of things this week, we have Us, which is a horror movie. And I don't typically watch horror movies. It takes a very specific or special type of movie to get me to go see a horror movie, as exemplified by A Quiet Place last year, and now Us this year. That's this week's second movie. It takes an even more special movie to get me to go see it in the Dolby Theater, because while the Dolby Theater is like really great, for a horror movie it makes the loudness louder, but it also makes the silence silenter, if that's possible. Like you're just waiting for that noise to happen. And Jordan Peele has delivered one of the best movies of the year, like easily one of the best movies of the year, and it's a super fascinating movie from start to finish. I think it does a great job at setting up the characters and setting up what it's trying to do. There's a bunch of this movie in the early section of it that's shot in broad daylight, and I really like that, because one of the things that super annoys me about horror movies is it's always dark, and it's always like the camera's always very tight and you're not supposed to see anything, and I just feel like a lot of it's very cheap. But there's something about it being shot in the dark and building that tension that way to where you're like, something's gonna happen at some point, right? Like, but it wouldn't happen in the day. That's too easy. Everyone can see. It does such a good job at establishing all the characters, and Lupita Nyong'o like just crushes this movie to the point where I was wondering, can you be nominated for 2 Academy Awards in the same movie, like Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress? Because if so, maybe Lupita Nyong'o could set Oscar history, because she is that good in this movie. And it also does something very small early on that I think warrants more attention. I don't know how many people are talking about it. I don't read reviews before I talk about them. I want to put my own words out there, however good or bad they may be. And the thing that I think is interesting that it does super early is it shows how a traumatic event from childhood can carry through to adulthood, and how like that just sticks with people. And I don't know, it's a very small element to this movie that I noticed. I was like, I like that they're talking about this in the very limited scope that they are, but I like that that idea is addressed and expounded upon in an interesting way, because it's not something you really see. Another thing that it does early on is it sets up a lot of stuff that comes back later, and it sets up things in such a like natural way to where you don't think about it. Like you notice you notice that it's there, and you go like, okay, like cool, this kind of sets the time frame, or this sets that up, but you're not expecting it to set up things that pay off way later in the movie, where you just go like, oh, like this was right in front of me the entire time and I never noticed it. As the day turns to night, the movie gets scarier and more intense. And once the other family shows up, and that's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer, once they show up, all hell breaks loose. And that's where the movie really starts to find its footing. And it's part of it, like, I really liked, because a lot of it is, like I said, scary and intense, but there's a surprising amount of humor that like undercuts it throughout, where it's like, these are jokes. It makes sense because Jordan Peele worked on Key and Peele and did Keanu, and he has like a background in comedy, but to see him do something that is so suspenseful is super interesting. I say this all, like this entire review happens because I haven't seen Get Out, and I know it's like one of the great cinematic sins of the last 5 years. Don't worry, I'll get on it soon, so just kind of take that with a grain of salt. It's at this point that I don't really want to talk much more about the plot, because I don't want to give anything away. Like the opposite family aspect is very clear in the trailers, and anything beyond that is just kind of, I want to stay away from it. I am going to talk a little bit about the ending, again, spoiler free. I'm not sure how much I liked it. There's a certain point in this movie where I thought it was going in one direction, and then it ends up going in a completely different direction, and I wasn't expecting that other direction. And for the most part, like through 3/4 of this movie or so, I was like, this is the best movie I've seen this year. Like, there's nothing even really comes close. And then the ending chunk happens, and I was like, I don't like this. I don't know. Like, I don't feel like I get it. I don't like it. There's something about it that just threw me off. And as I was walking out of the theater, the movie was stuck in my brain, and I was thinking about it, and I was working my way down a couple of the escalators to like the bottom floor. And as I was on the third escalator, everything clicked. Well, most of it. I don't think all of it quite got there, but enough of it got there, or like enough of it clicked to where I was sitting there going like, oh, okay, I'm thinking about it too segmentedly. I need to look at it and take the ending and apply it to the beginning and see how does this affect that and that work with this. And I don't think all of it works, and I think it maybe outreaches its grasp, maybe. I don't know. It's one of those things where it just, not all of it made sense, but a lot of it did, and it did leave me with lingering questions. So there was that. And it is cool to go to a movie where I have this one thought process, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't think I like this, blah, 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 blah. Have that aha moment, and then have questions linger in your head. As I was thinking about it, I was thinking about a couple of different things. One, maybe I shouldn't go see this movie in the Dolby Theater, because boy, that was a very intense experience. Two, now I'm at a bus station at dark, and it's very, very frightening. And three, I don't want to go anywhere near the woods anytime soon, and I am very afraid to go to the woods even 6 months from now, because this movie is really going to stick with me. But it did that thing where, as I was standing at the bus station, very scared, I was thinking about how, like, Jordan Peele kind of created this earworm of a movie. Like, you know how a song gets stuck in your head, and it's stuck and it plays the same loops over and over again? That's what this movie was doing, where I was playing certain scenes in my head and trying to remember what it was initially, and then applying the ending to it, and just kind of working back and forth. And I like that he did that. I like that he was able to put this movie out and leave it in my brain where I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. So I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm repeating myself just a little bit. I'm still not 100% sure if I like the way the movie ended. I wonder if he could have gone a different direction and maybe done something different, but I think that it still fits pretty cohesively together and does leave some lingering questions. I can't really praise this movie more than that. I think it's great. I think it's easily one of the best movies of the year, and I encourage you to go see it, even if you don't really like horror stuff. Maybe wait until you can watch it in broad daylight, because that might help, because boy, it's a very intense theater experience, but I had a great time with us. And now for something completely movie related, or not movie related. I'm not really sure, because I don't know what's in this Ultimate Unboxing box from Funko. It's been a little while since we've done any sort of unboxing or limited edition item, and when I was at GameStop I found this. It's literally called the Ultimate Unboxing box. It's a $9.99. It was, oh, that's the wrong side. Hang on. It's $9.99. $30 value, and this is what it is. There's no way to tell what's inside. It's for ages 8 and up. I clear that by 21 years, So we'll crack this tape open. Damn it! Oh, the tape looks like it's already been. Has the tape already been cracked? Oh, it has. Oops. All right, we'll see what's in here. Okay. Ooh, still don't know. Still don't know. Still don't know. All right. Right off the top, we have. Oh, Five Nights at Freddy's. That's not great. I have no idea what's supposed to be in here. So far we have a keychain or like... Oh, I'm sorry. It's a lanyard. I should have flipped that around. I looked at this part and I was like, oh, it's a watch. And then I looked at this and didn't put the pieces together at all. That's really reflective. There's a better look at it. Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, cool. Next up we have another... Is this like all Five Nights at Freddy's? Because if it is... Boy, I grabbed the wrong one. It sure is. So then there's this, which is whatever. Pint-sized heroes. I don't know. It's a blind bag. Mystery minis, little plushie. That's also Five Nights at Freddy's. Hooray! There's a pencil. This is supposed to be $2.95. I don't know why the hell is there a price tag on that. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. And then last but not least, we have the worst pop vinyl I've ever owned. I don't know. I wonder if it's all... So this one's a green box. And obviously I picked it because green's my favorite color. And I don't really know. All of this wasn't good. So I'm curious if... Like, it's cool that it's all themed. So if you're totally into Five Nights at Freddy's, like, that's great. If you're like me and you don't care about it at all, you look at it and you think, maybe next time I just flush $10 down the toilet. Now, they had another color up there, so maybe that's a different one? Maybe... I don't know. So basically what you get is you get a full-size, like, regular-size pop vinyl that you'll never see again. There was a lanyard and a couple little mystery bags, and then like, I think this is a pencil or a pen. It's a pen, but it's all Five Nights at Freddy's related. Hopefully, maybe the purple one would be better, but well, there's $10 I'm never getting back. Finally, on this week's show, we'll look forward to this week's new releases. On Blu-ray, Can You Ever Forgive Me and If Beale Street Could Talk are out, and Dumbo hits theaters. And then stick with me because it's a bit of a long list this week, but as far as the games are concerned, Generation Zero is out, The Walking Dead's final season's final episode is out, and the physical release of the complete season hits. MLB The Show 19 is out. Yoshi's Crafted World, the game I am most excited about, is out. And then I wrote down Where the Bees Make Honey, which is kind of a weird little like puzzle-looking game that looked kind of cool. And that would be like a prime candidate for, hey, write it down now, and maybe it will come in handy later. Maybe like a good like stream game or something. And then Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered with Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation is out. You can buy it physically in stores, or it's free with the season pass if you have Assassin's Creed Odyssey. As far as Xbox Game Pass, which has been a little more consistent in how inconsistently it's been releasing games, there are 4 games of note that they announced last week, I think last Wednesday or Thursday. March 21st saw the release of Deus Ex Mankind Divided and What Remains of Edith Finch. And then on March 28th, The Walking Dead Michonne, which is a short 3-episode series that fills in some of the gaps in the comic books. A very easy 1,000 gamer score. I think it takes about 4 hours or so. Hits. And then Vampire, from the makers of Life is Strange, hits the service as well. So 4 pretty good games. Some of them are a little bit smaller. Actually, it's about half and half. Vampire and Deus Ex are pretty long, and then What Remains of Edith Finch, I can't get that title out. What Remains of Edith Finch and Walking Dead Michonne are a little bit short. This week, the streams on Thursday is going to be a creative countdown to Yoshi's Crafted World, and then Yoshi's Crafted World will take over the streams for the rest of the week. So be sure to check all of those out because I'm very excited. That's like Sean's pick this week in the games category is Yoshi's Crafted World, and then in the movies category would be check out Can You Ever Forgive Me on Blu-ray. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. If you like the content, scroll on down and hit that subscribe button. You can scroll on down a little bit more and let me know if you're looking forward to anything coming out this week. There's a bunch of stuff on a bunch of different platforms. Let me know if you saw Us and what you thought of that ending. Let me know if you saw that other movie that I reviewed on this show, Shazam, if you were able to catch a preview screening of it. Be sure to catch the streams Thursday through Sunday on twitch.tv/ShaunosaurusRex, and then you can catch the VODs a day later right here on YouTube. And then always be sure to check back every single Tuesday for more Week in Review. Until next week, Shazam! Nothing? Damn it. Shazam?